Welcome back to another episode of the Jacob Johnston Show. So the Epoch Times is reporting that the National Archives find that the federal agency's iconic rotunda, where founding documents of the United States are on prominent display, is a symbol of structural racism, suggesting that the chamber should place trigger warnings to protect visitors from its contents. A report was released by the National Archives Task Force on Racism on April 20th, but only recently gained media attention. The task force, established by Obama-appointed National Archivist David Ferrario, in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd and the ensuing national unrest, concludes that an overarching system of racial bias is unequivocally affecting how the agency operates. The report cites the rotunda, which has been home to original copies of the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the Bill of Rights since 1952, as a leading example of the alleged structural racism within the National Archives. It describes the exhibition hall as a part of the headquarter building that allowed wealthy white men in the nation's founding while marginalizing Black, Indigenous, and people of color, women, and other communities. In addition, the report recommends the placement of trigger warnings. Trigger warnings? Wasn't there a university that recently came out and said the word trigger warning was a microaggression or a list of banned words because they were offensive? Anyways, alongside certain displays so that visitors could be forewarned of content that may cause intense psychological or physiological and psychological symptoms. A verbal or written notice that precedes potentially sensitive content. The report reads, such notices flag the content of the material that follows, so readers, listeners, and viewers can prepare themselves to adequately engage or, if necessary, disengage for their own well-being. Now, I wish I could say that this was a joke. I wish I could say that this was a surprise. I wish I could claim outrage by this, but at this particular point in time, this has just become the norm with the Democrat Party. See, the Democrat Party doesn't have any ideas, and all of their past policies have failed and failed miserably. It has crushed people, thrown them into poverty, destroyed communities, destroyed their own cities, let violence and murder run rampant in their cities, hate crimes going up in their cities, all promoted by the Democrats' own intolerance and saying, hey, we support criminals over the police. So what does the Democrats do? If you have no ideas and all of your previous policies have failed, what do? You try to shift the blame. You claim that no. It wasn't that the policy sucked. It was racism, systemic racism. That was the issue. Because God forbid that they ever take responsibility for anything. But this gets to a much larger issue, and that is the Democrats just simply hate the United States. They hate the Constitution, they hate democracy, and they hate the freedoms that we have in this country. Of course they do. All authoritarians who live in the United States or a place like the United States, which, by the way, there is no other place like the United States, they hate our system because it does not allow for authoritarians to enact their unchecked power and rule. It doesn't allow them to engage in their murderous hate. When you take a look at the Democrat Party, they want to go through and they want to act like they are the Soviet Union. They want to act like Nazi Germany, Mao Zedong's China. They want to have unfettered power to just dictate every aspect of your life. To do that, they got to promote that the current government, the current country, is irredeemably evil. So they promote nothing but hatred for the country, all the way from the classrooms where they are raising generations to hate everything that made this country great, everything that led to the greatest, most prosperous society in the world that has eliminated almost all inequality. Now, inequality versus equity. All right, that's where the Democrats are trying to muddy the water. Look, equality doesn't mean equal outcomes. It just means equal opportunities and equal treatment under the law. When it comes to the market, your own talent and work ethic will determine your success. And also, as well as your EQ, emotional IQ, your ability to get along with others. Right? But the left doesn't understand this. They think that they are owed something just simply for breathing. So if they don't get life handed to them on a silver platter with all the money that they could ever want, somehow this is unjust. They have been trained to think this way because they are being trained to hate the country. And is it any wonder that if you put a group of people at the head of government that hate the country, that think the country is horribly evil and needs to be torn down and built from scratch under the banner of a socialist utopia, in which has never been achieved. In fact, every socialist country has failed and failed miserably and has resulted in nothing but death, right? In any event, in order to do that, you got to get people to hate the country. You got to teach them all the way through the school system to hate the country, and you got to keep that stoking hatred throughout adulthood, and then they get into government. Now, if you get a bunch of people that get into government in elected positions who fundamentally hate this country and everything it stands for because it gets in the way of their unchecked power to fuel their own egos, is it any wonder that as those people get into power, everything goes to crap? I mean, think about it. You got Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democrats right now in control of D.C., the legitimacy of which is highly questionable, to say the least. But in any event, for some reason, they're being allowed to rule and have majority control. Since they have taken office, it has been one dumpster fire after another, one crisis to crisis. Crisis at the border, high inflation that is going on. People are having troubles in the economy. Businesses are having a hard time competing with the government's paying people to stay home, which is also driving up mass inflation and damaging the economy and preventing us from engaging in or achieving an economic recovery post-COVID-19. So is it any wonder that all of this is going on, all of this damage is being intentionally inflicted on the United States, when you have the very people running the government who hate the country they are running? And this is one of those amazing things here, where the Democrats want to go off and say everything is systemically racist, the government is horrible, and yet when you take a look at it, for the most part, all their examples of what is wrong with the country is examples taken from the cities that the Democrats run, from the states that the Democrats run, or try to say that the government is institutionally racist when, for the most part, they have ran most of government. They have had control of the legislature more often than the Republicans. It is mostly Democrats that go in to work for the federal government, with just very few actual Republicans or conservatives. So they control most of everything, and then they demonize that which they control so that they can shed what limitations they have on their authority and power, because they want a dictatorship, because they think they can rule your life better than you. And yet, they can't even tell the difference between a boy and a girl. But yet, they are super geniuses that have the answer to everything and can tell you all about climate change and how man is affecting climate change. But yet, when it comes to boy, girl, they're clueless. Now, they're not actually as dumb as what they tend to show. There's stupidity for the most part, at least those who hold elected office, or the majority of those who hold elected office. The stupidity is just an act. they're going to go along with anything and everything. It's their base that is generally filled with complete morons. And their base, having been raised to hate the country, keeps supporting people and voting for people that are going to destroy the country. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy here, right? So you got a group of people that hate the country. They elect people that hate the country. Those people then attack the country with policies designed to bring us down, collapse us, hurt our economy. As it does that, what happens? The people that supported the Democrats, who hate the country, end up feeling the biggest impact of the policies designed to destroy the country. And so they go, wow, see, I told you things were wrong. I told you that the country was fundamentally flawed. Capitalism is horrible and everything is systemically racist because look, me and my community, we just can't catch a break. Well, it's because you keep voting for people specifically to attack you. How is that hard for you to figure out? You keep voting for people to attack the country, and then you can't figure out why things keep getting worse for you living in the country that you vote for people to attack. Seriously, the left is completely stupid. But because they have nothing else, they can't point to any policy that has actually worked out for the Democrats. They can't point to any area of the country in which they control and go, see, this is a model of success. So all they have left is hate, 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 and division. Hate to drive division of the country, and that's their only way that they're going to be able to get enough people, correlation of people who generally hate each other, because they're taught to hate each other by the Democrats, who will come together just for an election in order for the Democrats to maintain control. And as more Democrats continue to control things, the worse things get. And so, but what else do they have? What else do they have? I mean, if they could point to anything successful, or if they can point to any of their experts that have actually been right about anything, then maybe they would be able to use a different tactic. But because it's nothing but failures for the Democrats, this is all they have. Just claim everything that stands in their way to unfettered power is racist. That anything in this country that has made the country great and prosperous is somehow racist. And they use the cloak of racism in order to hide the fact that they are just hateful, spiteful people. And also, they try to accuse everyone else of racism to try and hide the fact that they're the only ones who are racist. They're the only ones keeping racism alive. So they do this, and what's the result? The country's going to shit under the Democrat Party. I mean, let's face it. And so all they have left is this. Just claim everything's racist, get their supporters to hate everything about the United States, that everything that has led to all the luxuries and freedoms and the rights for them to do the things that they do, to hate all of that, so that we can install a socialist utopia where just a handful of Democrats at the very top of government enjoy the lifestyles of the rich and shameless, while the rest of us can starve, dying in the streets. And then what do we do from there? So yes, the Democrats hate the country, which is why whenever they're in control, everything goes to crap. That is my 2 cents on this. All right, tell me what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I will be back again soon.